We have this fear of judgment, what other people will think about us. But other people's opinion cannot pay our mortgage. Other people's opinions cannot leave a legacy for us. So what you want to do is understand, why am I being visible? I'm being visible for today for what the future holds.
Boom. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Wealth and Business Podcast. On this episode, I'm joined by a very, very, very good friend, a sister, someone who has helped me in my journey as well. I have many people who have helped me in my journey to become visible. And this particular individual has, coached corporate institutions, organizations here in the United Kingdom about corporate branding, visibility, and also helped a lot of professionals as well to really basically build visibility in their workplace. Without further ado, welcome Miss Michelle Raymond. Wow. Finally you're here.
I'm here.
So first of all, knowing that as a friend, as a sister, we've been on this journey together at least over the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. In fact, the first time I heard you speak was 4 years ago.
That's it.
Looking at what I personally have achieved in terms of visibility and branding, and for someone who's played a role, all right, tips, nuggets, and seeing that tips and nuggets grow in fruition.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Boy, listen, I think the trick to this game is consistency. And I've seen, even before that, I saw you I remember I reached out to somebody about you. And what has stood out for me is your consistency, always showing up, always sharing your story, sharing your journey, the ups as well as the downs. And I think that, for me, is key. And that's why you're here, and that's why I'm here with you, right?
So I really want this episode, I don't want us to hold back, because we want to talk about branding. We want to talk about visibility, which is your baby, your baby, the queen of visibility in the house. So visibility, buying it, building it. What's your take on it?
Dan, we're starting off too harsh. We're starting off harsh for the viewers, because there's so much controversy around, do you buy or should you just build it naturally? People say if you build it, people will come. But people won't come if they don't know who you are. And there's a saying that I've been saying from time is, you can't be demanding if you're not in demand.
Wow.
A lot of people, and I'm going to say this, and people will like me for it, people will dislike me, I don't care. But a lot of coaches have a lot to answer for, because they say, just put yourself out there and that's it, and people will come to you. But we know that it doesn't always work like that. And you first have to be demanding. People have to know who you are, your credibility, the value, the service you can offer. And then you can be in a position to charge a fee.
Yes.
What happens is there's two ways to get to that pinnacle, right? You can either build it over time, which does take time.
Very long time.
Yeah, it can take years. It can take years. And especially if you're going to do it without any level of controversy, it can take years. Or there's a shortcut, is to buy. Now, some people say, why should I buy? I'm good enough. But are you really good enough? You may be good enough, but do people believe you're good enough? So for those people in that camp, they might have to buy to get featured in magazines, or they might buy to win an award, or they might have to exchange money to be featured on podcasts or radio stations, because they have not built enough credibility yet, let's say, to be able to demand.
Yes.
And then there's the other position where you have built the years. So now work comes to you. Now, I know you're going to share what you do. I'm not a big fan of buying. I'm not a big fan. But I'm not against it. Now, if I was to look at it with my business hat on, it's just marketing. If I had to look at it in my profit and loss sheet, it will come under marketing, because I might put some money aside for Google ads. I might put money aside for LinkedIn ads. I might put money aside for a speaking engagement. So I'm not against it. You just need to know, why are you doing it and what you're going to get at the end. Some people will say, I will never pay. I've seen videos and I've heard people say, I will never pay to speak. I will never pay to speak. Where are you now?
Probably the career is probably done.
But that type of person, they don't see what they can get for paying to speak at a particular conference. So I would pay to speak if it was a leadership conference and it had my ideal audience, and I know they are paying audience, so it might be for a corporate leadership conference. I would definitely see myself paying for something like that, because I would see it as a marketing expenditure, being in front of my ideal audience. I know I have something to offer. I can understand and I can work out what the return on investment is. Now, there's a lot of people who just pay willy-nilly and they don't have the right audience. And some people think they're so great and so bougie that they shouldn't pay.
Apparently, what we're talking about here, it's a very, very interesting topic, because we have a lot of coaches, number one, that coaches people to become an authority. We have a lot of people coaching people to take their market to the marketplace and say, okay, put yourself out. So for me, exactly, I say this all the time to my client, put yourself out there. For me, I teach this in steps. Every single person who wants to invest in property, right? I always say to them, go and have a social media account, whether it be in Facebook, LinkedIn, any platform. Put yourself out there. When you go and see your mentors, or when your mentors are training you, share that you are with a mentor.
Yes.
Because exactly what I did when I began. When I began, I didn't have nothing to say. So I would basically take what my mentor said. I will post what my mentor said. I will tag my mentor. I will take my mentor's pictures and I will make a flyer in their face and I will post it on my social media with a quote of what they said.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have what to say.
Yeah.
And plus, I didn't have enough property transaction that I would do. So I'll put the camera, including one of my very first mentors, Carl Hutchins, and he would do a video for me and I will post it on my social media. He would talk about himself, what he's achieved, and then get to talk about me in the end of that video. So, and that was exactly how I started social media. That was exactly how I started becoming visible. We're talking about visibility.
Yes.
Because we're going to break that down in the end anyway. Helping people to understand visibility means social media.
Yeah.
Visibility means branding. Visibility means
and you
knowing
need to have
for who
visibility and credibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now, yes, as you mentioned, and then we spoke about, is he paid? Is he the paid mean? Is he bought or is he built? And I also really understand, really, really appreciate how you've explained it as well, in terms of it takes a long time to build.
Yeah.
It takes a shorter time to buy it. Even though you have your reservations about buying it or not buying it. But again, it's all depending on what is your goal.
Yeah.
If you're just looking to feed yourself and feed your family, go one holiday a year, you shouldn't even think about being visible, right? Because you're just trying to feed.
Just go to work and come back home.
Just come back. And this is very interesting topic, because a lot of people are going to listen to this and going to be like, why do I care? There are different types of businesses. A lot of people are side hustlers and they think they have a business. Most people you see just hustling, side hustle means they just want to feed. All right, get by. That's side hustle. From side hustle, you then move into self-employed. All right. Some people, when they're self-employed, they might not need to understand the concept about visibility and credibility and building a brand and being known on social media. But when you're not stepping into where you're trying to build something bigger than yourself, something that would last a lifetime, a legacy. For example, what I am doing.
Yes.
When I'm 50 years old, when I'm 60 years old, when I'm 100 years old, when I even disappear, when the time comes, I've built it.
Yeah.
Visibility, platforms, and all these different things.
So you're building for the future.
I'm building for the future.
You're building for the future. And I think what happens is a lot of people who don't want to be visible, they just feel, oh, I don't want to put myself out there. I don't know. We have this fear of judgment, what other people will think about us. But other people's opinion cannot pay our mortgage. Other people's opinions cannot leave a legacy for us. So what you want to do is understand, why am I being visible? I'm being visible for today for what the future holds.
Boom.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Because so I'm putting aside how I feel, how I think, what people think about me today, because I'm building a legacy. I understand that if I show up today, if I share what I'm working on, or if I share the impact I'm making today, I understand that it's going to leave a legacy for my daughter, for my daughter's daughter, because I'm building now. And visibility is just one strand of building the business.
Yes.
And like I said before, you need the visibility and the credibility. What I tend to see is people are just being visible with no foundation.
For the sake of it.
Just for the sake of it. And for me, that's people making a noise.
Yeah.
What we want is people to make a sound. A sound lasts longer. And what I mean by making a sound is that the visibility must equate to credibility. So you are sharing the impact that you're making within your community. You're sharing value. You are serving. That's how so visibility is not just a frivolous thing to do on social media. You are teaming it with credibility. So it makes sense. That's the difference between people who are making a noise on social media and people who are making a sound.
I just love that. Now, let me take 2 steps backwards. You know, I went straight in about visibility. Is it bought? Is it built? And we kind of touch a little bit, and just to kind of give a little bit of a context of what is visibility. I'm sure people might still be wondering, what are these guys trying to talk about now? So let's take those 2 steps backward. First of all, what is visibility, and what does visibility has to do with branding? And then what is branding?
Yeah.
Then we're going to digress that and then follow on with personal branding, corporate branding, professional branding, and all of that.
Okay.
So let's take it backwards. So what is visibility?
For me, visibility is getting to share your message. For me, in the simplest terms, that's what visibility is. I believe that every time I open my mouth and I share my message, and my message doesn't always have to be a personal message, it could be a business message, but every time I open my mouth and share, I am raising my visibility. A few weeks back, I just finished doing my last cohort. So I'm the emerging leadership lead facilitator for UCL. UCL is one of the prestigious universities. So University College of London, I'm currently running their emerging leadership program. I'm the lead facilitator. And we just finished a cohort, and I then went onto social media and I talked about working with them for 3 months. Some of them are going to move from a grade 4 to a grade 7 or grade 9, which is a higher level, and they are all faculty members. I shared that on social media. Somebody came into my inbox and said, oh my God, Michelle, you have just inspired me to share bits of my journey, my day-to-day journey of what I do, because people don't actually know what I do. We assume people know what we do, but I like to tell the story of what I do daily on social media. So I shared that, and it inspired somebody else to do the same thing. I also shared it on LinkedIn, and I shared it within some of these groups I'm in. And you know what happened? Somebody saw this and said, Michelle, I would love you to do something for us in the UAE. We've got universities in the UAE. So you can see, when you raise your visibility and share your message, whatever that message is, it opens up more opportunities. It opens up leads so you can get more working. So if people stop looking at it from a vanity perspective, I don't look right. What do I look like? What am I going to say? And actually just share. That's what true visibility is. It makes an impact.
Wow. Visibility is your message. Visibility is what you do and letting people aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
But there's so many people that don't believe their message should be heard. There's so many people who say, oh, I don't really, why should people care?
Or some people don't even know how to share their message. But I take from what you said at the beginning, you didn't even know what to say. So you took a message from someone else, your mentor. And that's what people can start doing. If there's something you resonate with, you can share that and just put your opinion on it.
What about
you can do the same thing.
What about people who don't even have the will to have seen what I saw and asked my mentor to do it for me?
Well, do you know what? There's different journeys for different people. And this is why your network really matters. Because I'm in your network, we're sharing this. So then I think to myself, oh, actually, I have a mentor who is the head of EMEA for MasterCard. He shares some really great intelligence. I can share that. If I wasn't sitting here with you now, I wouldn't have thought of that. And I thought, but actually, my mentor is, head of commercial for EMEA, and he shares great content. I can get on the back of that. So we just need to be creative in our way of thinking. Do you know, we all read books, we all buy books. And what I do is I buy a book. So this is a tip for everybody, right? I buy a book. I don't always read it from cover to cover. But what I tend to do is if I love the book and there's nuggets from there, I share pieces of content of the book and I tag in the author. And I will share that. And if the author likes it and sees it, they repost it. I also share bits that I don't agree with in the book and I put them in it and I tag it and I tag them. And that starts a conversation with the author because the author was like, oh, interesting. So you don't agree with this point. What would you say instead? That's another way of raising your visibility. We all read books. We all have access to authors. And that's another way that you can raise your visibility. So it doesn't always have to be your message. It could be somebody else's message that you're sharing, whether you agree with it or disagree with it.
I mean, I always say this, whatever has been done has always been done before. Whatever has been said before. Look at the cars that we drive, If you have a Mercedes-Benz GLA, and you have a X6, BMW, if you look at the two cars, they're similar, but they're just given different names.
Yes.
It doesn't mean copy, cats. Like at the moment we have Tread, okay?
Yes.
So Tread versus Twitter. All right. So Elon Musk says, copy me, but don't copycat and take everything. So I'm going to sue you.
Yes.
So it's a matter of, basically, you don't have to always be the person who invents it.
No.
Basically contribute or criticize in a positive way, but not negative.
Yes.
And then get the attention you require to help you get the following, to help you put yourself out there, for you to obviously people like, oh, check you out. What do you have? What message are you trying to give? Or what service are you trying to sell? It's all about understanding how to utilize that as well. Because I think one of the biggest issue is that for me, in my experience around a lot of entrepreneurs who I've seen all the time, it's just that they're not willing to make an effort. People, they say success leaves clues. And I had a conversation a couple of days ago in a podcast, and I said, a lot of people know how to buy books and read. A lot of people learn how to listen to podcasts like this. A lot of people know how to go to YouTube and watch things. But what a lot of people don't understand is how to actually make it their own or utilize it to become, a opportunity for them. Or even applying it to themselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people wanting knowledge, but application of that knowledge is another thing.
Yeah.
And that's something you've got to develop. And it's so important for entrepreneurs to understand the importance of visibility, that visibility is not just branding, visibility is not just social media. These are all different types of components. But again, it's you using your visibility to becoming a voice for your product.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, we're in an attention economy. There's so many things trying to grab our attention, and like you said, there's threads now, and we've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, we've got all of those platforms. And what we're not saying is to be on all of those platforms. You choose the platforms where your target market is. But what it is, visibility is just more than the vanity sake. It's you can make such a difference just by showing up. What's that ludicrous song? When you move, I move.
Just like that.
Just like that. And that is exactly what it is. When somebody sees you showing up in your authentic self, you are giving them permission to shine too. Wow. That's what you're doing. That is what you're doing. So even sometimes when I can't be bothered, when I'm not really feeling up to it, I think there must be something I can share, even if it doesn't mean putting my face on camera. It might be a quote. It might be something somebody said I can share. I can repost somebody else's post like I did with yours. We can do that because it's still sharing something about me. Because if I'm going to share something about you, there must be some value alignment. Yes. I'm not going to be sharing anybody's stuff because if our values don't align, I'm not going to do that. So although I'm sharing something of somebody else's, it could be their products or their services, I'm still showing who I am through that piece of visibility. And I do that and I'm reminding people, oh, actually, I can do it too. If Michelle can do it in her good days, if Michelle can do it in her bad days, I can do it too. And I think that's really key. So visibility is not just about yourself, it's also giving permission for others.
Wow, I really love how you kind of put that words together. Now let's quickly move into branding. All right. So visibility is your voice, your message. Now, how do we now use that to create a brand?
Because it's just one element of a number of things that create the brand. The brand, as we know, is what do people think about you? It's something that I shared earlier.
I think I'll quickly add this because a lot of people usually think a brand is your logo.
No, that's just an element of the brand.
And people always think your brand is your website, right? People always think your brand is your color scheme. So visibility is visible, right? Let's navigate it to the brand because what we're trying to do here is just to make you understand, like, your brand is not just your website. And when you talk about brand, it's so big. And how do we navigate visibility into branding?
Because you have to start with the end in mind. The end is, what do you want to be known for? When you know what you want to be known for, then you understand how you should show up visibly. Then it will dictate how often you show up. So I always say, what do you want to be known for? If somebody had to write a chapter about Daniel Moses, what do you want it to say? If you had to write your own press release, what would you like to be in that press release? When you pass away, what would that dash between the date you were born and the date that you die, what would that dash represent? That is what true personal branding is. So I do this exercise quite often and I'll ask people, when you hear the name Michelle Raymond, when you see the word Michelle Raymond written in a document, what conjures up? What comes up? Will they say she's chatty? Will she say she's friendly, selfish? Will they say she's self-centered? Would they say that she's giving? Will they say, what comes up? What are the words that come up? And I did this exercise and I had the words professional came up, expert, service came up, leadership came up. And these are all good things that I want to be associated with me, Michelle Raymond, the brand. So it's an exercise that I think everybody should try. And you just put it out there on social media and say, if you see my name, Daniel Moses, Dr. Daniel Moses, what comes up for you? I can tell you from now, when I think of you, I think of property. I think of network. I think of money. Are these all good things?
I love it.
You want
money.
That. You want all of that.
Money.
Ka-ching. These are the things we want to be known for, and that helps create your brand. So I did this exercise with one of my mentees, and he put it out, and what he got back was friendly, kind-hearted. So I said, but friendliness and kind-hearted is not going to pay your bills.
Yes.
So what do you need to do to tweak your brand so that people say expert, professional, whatever he wants to help expand his business? That's where the small tweaks he needs to make in his branding. And that means how he comes across, how he talks, his personality, his character. All of those help build the brand. And visibility is just one strand of it.
Wow. Okay, let's do this now.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Michelle Raymond? Because we winning, right? We is winning. Who is Michelle Raymond? And tell us about yourself. And tell us how you became aware of this whole, visibility, branding. How did it come about? So first of all, who is Michelle Raymond?
So Michelle Raymond is a mother, is a wife, a daughter, a friend.
I didn't know you had a child.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a wife.
Yeah. I'm a mother of an 18-year-old.
Just joking, by the way.
He didn't know.
She looks hot.
Yeah,
That's
I look
what I'm
young
asking.
for my age.
She
Yeah,
looks
I look
young.
young. But it's not like I had her young. I just look young. Yeah. So I'm a mother, I'm a wife, a sister, a friend, a daughter. That's always, and a Christian. I'm a believer. But I'm also a leadership coach and trainer, and I help diverse businesses secure corporate contracts. And that's about raising their visibility so that these corporate companies know that we exist. So it's all around visibility. But let me tell you why I've always stuck with visibility, because coming up now, I think we're coming up to 12 years now. So around 12 years ago, I was invisible. I became invisible. And I tell you why. So I was married, not to this husband, I've been married twice, but to my former husband. We lived this idyllic life. We had the house, we had 2 cars, we got paid well, everything was going fine. And somewhere along the line, things started to untangle, not necessarily within the relationship, but with him. And I remember being at home and I got this phone call, and the phone call said, Michelle, did you hear about your husband? And I was thinking, what about my husband? Did you hear that he's been accused of molesting children? So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? What, my husband? Nah. So anyway, as time passed, other people came forward. Other young people came forward. And he, at the time, was arrested and found guilty, I think it was of 13 counts of sexual abuse or molestation with children. Now, put yourself in my situation. I'm married. I think our daughter was about, she was about probably one or two then. And I thought I had this perfect life. And right before my eyes, everything unraveled. So everything I thought I knew was a lie. And what had happened at the time, the newspapers got involved, the news, it was on ITV News. I remember I was at home, I was sitting on the toilet and somebody texted me and said, Michelle, oh my God, turn the TV on. You lot are on TV. And I was like, what? And I ran and I just saw the mugshot there and all what's being said. We were in the front of the newspapers, and where I lived at the time, the woman, my neighbour, was the assistant to the general director of the Sun newspaper. So you can imagine, it's in black press, it's in the general press, it's on ITV News. All of it, my whole life just in front of everybody. And so I went into hiding. That's all I could do, because when I went out in public, people linked to what was going on to me. I remember walking down to my shops and somebody said, aren't you the wife of the paedophile? That was my new name, the wife of the paedophile. And she then spat in my face. Then I had people throw bricks into my house, and one time when my daughter wasn't there and one time when she was. So I was getting a lot of abuse for something I didn't do. And so I became invisible and I hid away. At the time I was singing, and I was singing for pop singers like Blur, Kylie Minogue at the time. So I do backing singing, and I had to stop. I remember I was at court and someone came from the agency and said, Michelle, we need you to take some time off because it's bringing so much negative press. So I had to come out of society. I just had dropped out and I became so invisible. And my name was known as the wife of the paedophile. The turning point was I was at church and I was listening, and the preacher said something that he said many, many times before: be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that, for some reason, it just dropped in my spirit, and it just made me think, why am I hiding away like I've done something wrong? I've got a voice, I've got something to say, and everybody else is speaking for me because I just didn't want to say anything. And it was at that point where everything shifted, and I thought, and I remember saying to God, when you get me out of this situation, I will never be invisible again. And that just started me on a trajectory of making sure that my voice is heard and showing up and having a seat at the table, whatever this table is. If there's no seat for me, let me build my own table and bring my own chair.
Fantastic.
That started me on my journey of being visible. So when people always say to me, but Michelle, you're always on social media. Someone said to me, every time I open my LinkedIn, I see your face. And I said, exactly, that's what I want you to see, because my time of invisibility is over.
Wow.
And that's where I am here.
I can see why visibility is something they're very, very passionate about, because one of the things I love to share on this Wealth and Business podcast is basically personal story, to relate the message I'm trying to convey. Because once upon a time, I remember I would watch all these big entrepreneurs, like yesterday, I actually posted on my social media one of Nigeria's most visible entrepreneurs. His name is Tony Elumelu. And he's a founder of one of Nigeria's biggest bank. He's done so many different things. And I always wonder, how did this entrepreneur just rise all the way to the top? He's seen on the news, he's doing business, he's changed his life, he's doing all of these things. What do they do? I used to see these like a very special way. I just see like, it's so big. And you watch the likes of Donald Trump, you watch the likes of, Lord Sugar, and you're wondering, oh yeah, but they're business people. How come they're business people? They have a voice on the media. They have a voice here. They have a voice there. Kings and queens recognize them, but they're just being a business entrepreneur. Many years ago, I used to realize all these things until I personally went on a journey. I went on a journey and I discovered that actually it's a choice you make, that you want to turn your invisibility to become invisible through your personal stories. That is what takes you to where or who you become. And just exactly what you've shared.
Definitely.
With your situation, your business and who you are today wasn't given birth to by just for the sake of it.
No.
It was an adversity that you overcome that has not put you in a place where in your life now, the likes of Lois TSB, the big organization, are partnering with you, partnering with your business. Because a lot of people would have turned what happened to you and your family to be like, okay, that is it for let me basically shut the door, shut the windows. And to be honest, some people could even become suicidal.
Listen, I was close, absolutely close. I had depression, and I even had, and I don't know if many people know, it's called urinitis. And that formed, and that's basically when you're nervous or when you're stressed, you wet yourself. Now, I was a big woman, and this is what's happening to me because of all the stress that was happening. Wherever I was, if I needed to go I needed to go straight away, or I would wet myself all the time. And people didn't see that. People, and we're talking about visibility. This particular story, what I talk about, where I used to wet myself because of all the stress, this was promoted in a well-known magazine called Housekeeping Magazine, which is sold all over the world, and it's owned by Condé Nast, I think they pronounce it, that brand. And that's what I talked about. And so I made myself vulnerable to make myself visible. And that's another part of being visible, is a level of vulnerability.
Sharing the honesty.
Sharing that. And people think, Michelle, that happened to you. And I said, yes, it did happen to me. I could be driving, get stressed, and it would happen. And I shared that to remind people that we all go through things. No one's perfect. And we all go through medical issues. We go for psychiatric issues. We come out the side when we tell our story.
You know, a lot of people will be probably wondering, how can they overcome so they can be winning entrepreneurs? Mm-hmm. I wrote a great detail about this particular situation, this topic in my new book, The Test. Mm-hmm. And you are an overcoming entrepreneur. You have overcome and you are still overcoming.
Still, yeah.
And I'm so glad that we can relate this to visibility. We can relate this to business branding. Because if it's not painful enough, 12 years we're talking about, you've been on this journey now. And look at what you've achieved by coaching corporate industries, experts, professionals about visibility.
Yes.
Whether negative, whether positive, people should, regardless, go out there and be visible. Yeah. And you spoke about your vulnerability in what you went through to now being able to teach people how to, whether they're at the lowest moment of their lives, you can teach them. Whether they are the highest lowest of their life, they can teach them. So thank you so very much for going in depth into your story and what gave birth to you being the visibility expert that you are now. So we've established the journey. We've established what visibility is, what branding is, right? And we've also established your personal story. So now let's go back to our initial topic about pain.
Yes.
All right? Because not everyone would have your story televised in that way to now turn that around positively in business to now teach corporate organizations. And as well as, how can professionals, business people, why should they care about being heard? How can they bring the product to the market so people can buy? And you also said a lot of people are making noise. What you don't need to make is noise. What you need to make is a sound, a bang.
Yes.
So let's corroborate, this section now, so that people who are, especially these days, a lot of people there's this clout about, getting rid of sacking your boss, becoming an entrepreneur. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I want to become financially ahead. Financial security. Some people are like, oh, I want to earn 10K a month, 20K a month. But are you ready? To pay the price?
Listen, and controversially, I don't think everybody was built to be entrepreneurs. So that's the first thing.
100%.
Not everybody. We need employees and we need entrepreneurs. The great thing with visibility, it doesn't matter whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee. Now, I have 25 years of HR experience underneath my belt. And I have seen those who are not visible at work never get promoted. They don't get a higher salary. They don't get exposed to new challenges within the business because they're just not visible. They just do their work under the radar. So visibility stretches between employment and entrepreneurship. And so going back to what you were saying, how do we, put it all together? Your story doesn't have to be as tragic as mine. It doesn't have to be that. And people think for them to be visible and to have a story, it has to be drenched in pain.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. All it is you sharing your experience. Yeah. We have good experiences. We have poor experiences. And that's what you just need to do, is be vulnerable enough to share it. And that's what I say. True visibility is found in vulnerability. And you have to be willing to share that. And some people are not ready for that, and I understand, because it's a big thing, it's a big ask, and you think, what will people think? What will people say about me? And like I said, people's opinions can't pay your mortgage.
Yep.
People's opinions can't build your legacy. So there needs to come a time where you think, let me just stand up, irrespective of what people think, and share what I have to do. And once again, it comes back to, what do you want to be known for? What will that dash represent when you leave this world? For me, my dash needs to say that Michelle stood up against all odds to raise her head, to be a leader. And this is why I'm doing that event in November. Do I really want to do the event? No. To be honest, I prefer to just show up at other people's events and speak at other people's events.
It's a lot of work.
And now I've put myself in a position, thanks to my mum and my mentor, to now I'm putting on an event. And before, instead of me doing small events, I'm just doing one big event. And it's freaking me out. But do you know what it's going to do? It's also going to raise my visibility and credibility in the field that I operate in. Because I'm bringing together micro and diverse businesses with corporates, which means I'm stretching myself. I'm having conversations with some of the biggest brands in the world, trying to get them at my conference so that people like you and your listeners and your readers and your viewers, they can be in the room and they can sell their services, their products to corporates. Is it scaring me? Yes, it is. But will it raise my visibility? Yes,
Absolutely.
it will. Will it make an impact for people? Yes, it will. Will it leave a legacy? Yes, it will. That's what I'm looking at, the long term. And that's what we need to be. That's what visibility is.
I recently did a talk in the church because I spoke about go from unknown to becoming unforgettable.
Yes.
And when I did that talk in the church, especially to the Christian community, you know, which is us, a lot of us think that when we try to share a message to be heard, oh, yeah, well, you're trying to be famous, right? And some of us like, oh, this sometimes, I've been very honest about this, sometimes there's also a lot of envy. What do you think you are? Right? And sometimes there's also God's children, God's people just feel like, I don't need it. Now, people buy from who they like and trust.
Yeah.
And the big guys do this all the time. You see them on newspapers, you see them they have a very nice website. You get text message campaigns promoting whatever that's been said. Now, for a lot of people who don't understand why they should basically build a business that should be heard, build a business that should be visible, build a brand that should truly represent what they stand for. Why aren't there people doing it? Why? Why is it just only selected few people?
It's belief, though, isn't it? When it fundamentally comes down to belief. If there's no belief in yourself that you're good enough to have your voice heard, then visibility won't even come into it. If people don't believe in themselves, they won't go far. If they don't believe in their own product, their own source, they won't do the visibility stuff. And if they don't believe they can make an impact to others, they won't do it. So effectively, fundamentally comes down to belief. Because those that believe that they're good enough, they'll be visible. Look at the amount, think about this, look at the amount of people that you've seen, that I've seen, that you know, and I probably know, who their product or service is weak.
Yeah.
But they believe their source. And because they believe their source, they out there running things and being visible. Because it's a belief. So you ask yourself, where are you on the belief meter in terms of believing in yourself, believing in your product, and believing that you can make a difference?
Yeah.
Because if you believe those three, or even one of those three, it's enough for you to put yourself out there and be visible. There's a lot of people saying, oh, I don't need it. I don't need to be visible. My product speaks for itself. It may speak for itself now, but will it have that longevity? When other people are coming into the market and they are being visible with a cheaper or weaker product than you have, people will go to them.
I mean, even that what you just said right there, a lot of us still watch Sky News, we watch BBC. Every single time in between the news, how many of us see that there is all of a sudden there's a flash about Virgin Media, Virgin, broadband or something, or BT or something, or without word of a doubt, if you ask any child right now, say, "Oh, what's the best network?" They will tell you, "Oh, I use EE, or I use Vodafone, or I use something."
Yeah.
How has that product become known by even a 10-year-old just given a phone? That is visibility. And whilst you're watching your TV, no matter how big these guys are,
they're still being visible.
It's advertising.
Exactly. So what say then one solopreneur, a freelancer, you're thinking, you think you're too big to be visible, yet some of these bigger brands are constantly in front of your face because they know the return on investment on being visible. But yet you struggle just to share something about your product, to share something about your service. It's a belief thing.
And when it comes to this visibility topic, obviously visibility is so massive, so broad. We've talked about branding there. Now we're talking about the advertising, which is the marketing part. The reason why I would basically walk into a shop and say, actually, I want to swap my network from Vodafone to O2 is because they have subconsciously,
that's right,
all right, being visible for years before I actually walked into there.
Yeah.
And that's why social media is important to every single person right now that wants to build a business. I mean, I'll give myself as a case study. Over the last 5 years or so, I share something about myself. I share something about my journey. I share something about property. And I share something about business or entrepreneurship or just generic. Why do I even write a mindset book? It's so that when people then read that information, they can either agree or disagree, but they become aware when it's time to buy property, when it's time to build a property portfolio, they know there's an expert somewhere.
Yes.
Someone actually asked me this question, why are you writing books? Why didn't you just do property? And I said, because I'm not trying to build a business that feeds me and my wife and children. I'm trying to build a business that my children's children will say, oh, granddad, great-granddad did well.
Yes. Yeah.
That's going back to the concept of side hustle I spoke about earlier.
Yes.
Going back to self-employed. Going back to building a legacy type of business.
Yes.
So my question to you who are watching right now, what type of entrepreneur are you? And if you identify yourself as a side hustler, self-employed, somebody who's looking to establish a company is a group of individuals coming together to form and achieve common goal. How much are you prepared to go out there, have a voice, have a message, get visibility, market your product? Because when you have visibility, marketing the product, you become the honey.
Yes.
And the bees come to you.
I love that.
You know?
That's what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So having said that, Michelle, just give us 3 steps of how anyone can begin this journey of building visibility. Just 3 steps.
I would say the very first thing is you need to believe. You either need to believe in yourself, you either need to or believe in your product, or believe that you can make an impact. You've got to believe that first. Because if there's no belief, they're just not going to show up. And they just won't show up right. Remember the difference between the noise and the sound. We want people to show up and make a sound. We don't just want empty noises, empty vessels. We don't want empty vessels. They make the loudest noise. We want sounds. So you need to believe. So this is the first thing. And I would also, the second thing is you must find something that you are passionate about within your business, either the work that you do, the partnerships that you're in. There's got to be at least something you are passionate about and that you know well that you can talk about, because that's where the credibility comes into it. You have to be visible and credible. I think they're almost synonymous. So there's got to be something you're passionate about and you know a lot about. So like I said, I have 25 years of HR experience. I can talk about HR day in, day out. I know the laws. I know policies and procedures coming out of my ears.
Yeah.
I know a lot around leadership and diversity and inclusion. I can talk about that for days. So that's why I'm the honey when companies are looking for D&I leaders or a diversity and inclusion speaker or someone who can speak on microaggressions within the workplace. I become the honey because I've put so much content, visibility out there about it now that it comes to me. All right. So we've got belief and we've got passion. And I will also say the third thing is consistency, what we led with at the beginning. There are people that will see you years later and work with you then.
Yes.
I get inboxes, I get DMs all the time and say, Michelle, I have followed your journey. I have watched you from at the beginning. And at the beginning, I started small, just like everybody else. Listen, started small. But I have been consistent and I consistently show up. And people are impressed by that almost. Inspired, but also impressed because they think, you're still here. You're still doing it. And I don't always get it right. But I still show up. And that's the consistency. And that makes the difference between those who make it and those that don't.
Wow. I love what you said there, consistency. I love one thing my mentor always bang in my ear all the time. He says, get started now. Figure the rest out later. Say yes today. Regardless whether you have the money, whether you know how you're going to do it, just say yes. I think that's exactly what I've done. For me, I've been on this journey now after bouncing back 6 years on, going to 7 years now. One thing I learned is I say yes. I figure it out later. And then the other thing is, like, I get started and I'm perfecting my journey through. So as we go through to the end of this podcast, I'm going to bring you to my last question, which is what we started with. Pain versus building.
Paying.
What do you support?
I know you're not going to like this, but this is cool. We can still be friends. Me, I will always be an advocate of building. But I do believe there are shortcuts of paying to play. And I understand the pay to play model. I totally get it.
Chapter number 10 of my book, by the way.
Chapter 10 of the test.
Yes,
chapter 10 of the test. I can't wait to read that bit. So it definitely plays a role. But me, I believe that I want to build and then the credibility will come after. So that's what are you? Are you the pay to play model or the build?
I mean, for me now, the kind of people I hang around with, the kind of people. So tomorrow, I am going to be having a dinner with the founder of Reebok.
That's worth paying to be in the room.
So I'm going to be having dinner tomorrow with the founder of Reebok.
Wow.
So Reebok, the shoes. Who would ever imagine a local boy from Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria, who was once a member of a gang, who was an Uber driver, who lost everything? I can go and just read my failures of accolades before the new accolades of being on Forbes, being one of the most influential Black property entrepreneur. I can list all of that now.
Yes.
So sitting down with this kind of people. Okay, let me give you another one now. Recently, I got invited to become a member of the Conservative Party.
Okay.
All right. And I'm like, I remember when many years ago, my pastor from the church, Apostle A.T.B. said, go and join every political party that is winning in your local borough. And it's like, nah, what do I need that for? But now I got invitation. And this week, I am going to be, God's willing, in the same room with our current prime minister. If not this week, the following week, because there's a meeting I'm going to.
Yes.
Power of pay to play.
So how has pay to play model, so you've just shown how that works, but how many pay to play models do you participate in?
I participate in a lot of pay to play model because you spoke about buying yourself a seat on the table or creating a seat on the table.
Yeah.
I actually spoke about that in my new book, The Test.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's not going to land on your doorstep.
No.
But again, it goes back to first, you've got to have a message. You've got to have visibility for these things to happen. So I'll give another example. If I haven't built what I've built, I have grafted on social media in the last 6 years. I post every single day. I show up every single day. I do Instagram Live. This week alone, I've done over 5 Instagram Live. That Instagram Live sent me a badge yesterday. Instagram sent me a badge yesterday. So in the last 10 days, you've been doing a lot of Instagram Live. So I've paid the time.
Your dues.
I've paid the dues. So I've paid the dues. Now, not just paying the dues. So for example, I recently become a member of Forbes Council.
Yeah.
Being a member of a Forbes Council is an invitation only. But then again, there's a yearly dues.
Yes.
The yearly dues you're looking about, it starts from about $3,500 a year. So that's the pay model.
Yeah.
You get the invitation. The invitation is not enough to welcome you in. There is a model behind it. The model behind it is paying. So if you need to be around Dr. Daniel Moses, you want me to come and spend the whole day with you now, I charge about £300 to £500 an hour, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, the discount I'll give is about £200. So I'll do it for about £300.
Yeah.
If you want to spend a whole day with me to soak anything you need to soak and exactly show you the model I've done.
So let me ask you a question. Now, let me interview you. If you are, let's say you're the face of the pay-to-play model, does that now mean that only people who get into certain spaces are only people with money? What if people don't have money to do the pay-to-play model?
Interestingly, the fact is that something's got to give.
Okay.
That's the truth. 7 years ago, I was an Uber driver. Right? I had no money. So you said something about passion, belief.
Yeah.
That's where that comes in. So I had passion, I had belief, and I decided to create intention.
Yes.
So if you don't have the passion, if you don't have the belief, and then become intentional, so you can be sitting next to the president or the prime minister, but first you have to learn to get in the room because you become accustomed. They start seeing your face in the room, branding. Then someone gives a word.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Daniel Moses. Yeah, you know him? Yeah, I know him. Oh, then someone goes, oh, you're here again. Oh, you know him?
Yes.
Oh, wow. And you go there. Oh, Dr. Daniel. Oh, you know that guy? And then guess what? From your name being heard in the room comes recommendation.
Yeah.
From recommendation comes business. So it's all about, I didn't become who I am. I've shared my, people are probably watching this now. When we started the podcast 2.5 years ago, we started with just audio.
Right.
And now we're doing videos and audios and we're everywhere now. We've just partnered with a TV channel a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
God willing, that's going to be now televised on channel 588 on Sky. So I've put in the work, but I had the will, I had the passion, I had the desire. Because I understand in my business model, I'm trying to, first of all, I'm trying to do multiple things with people. So number one, I'm trying to teach people to invest in real estate long term.
Yes.
It's not get rich quick. I'm trying to tell people, don't buy where you live. Buy an investment property first. I'm trying to tell people, create wealth. I'm trying to tell people, become a person of value. Because I've went through this journey myself.
Yeah.
So now, what does visibility then means for me? First of all, I did not know anybody. I came to this country, nobody. I did not know anybody. I've been through the meals, trust me. I've been burnt.
Yeah.
But I'm still standing. But the desire and the will and now becoming intentional and meeting the right people now means at some point as a Black property entrepreneur, as a Black success entrepreneur, as a property mogul, names now becomes being mentioned.
Yeah, your name's being mentioned in the rooms.
And the more the names keep being mentioned, and then the more I'm actively seeking investments, the more someone's going to say, actually, we've heard you raise £1.5 million on social media. You don't need to go and do that hard work anymore. I've got £3 million for you.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the reason why visibility is so key. It doesn't always have to be money. It has to be, first of all, your will, your desire, your persistency, your consistency, and your ability to never give up. Because there will be days you don't want to get out of bed to post on social media. There will be days, I mean, when I first started, I was doing everything myself. Then Kevin came through. From Kevin now, I have a 13-man team. One little steps at a time, little drop of water makes an ocean. So yes, absolutely. For someone who have no money, for someone who have no idea, for someone who's completely lost, desire, your mindset, your persistency, consistency, it opens doors.
I would even go one further. Listening to what you've just said just now, many people have the desire, but they don't have the discipline.
Discipline's another
So
big
I think
one.
it's the discipline. Like you said, sometimes you don't feel like it, but you've almost conditioned your mind to know, actually, this is part of my journey of success.
Yes.
So even when we don't feel like it,
You just do it.
you just do it. Because now you've got the discipline. The desire is there. Your desire is there. Many people have the desire. Many people have the desire to make the 10K, the 20Ks. Many people have the desire to do all these things around the world. But they lack the discipline that requires you to get to the success.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need.
And it's all, like, this is one of the reasons I wrote the test. It's okay sometimes to lose momentum. It's okay to lose inspiration. It's okay that you feel like, okay, you're not wanting to do it today, but do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'll give you, let me actually even share this, to be honest. I used to run every single morning at about 6 a.m. In the last couple of months, I feel like not running in the morning because I felt like my body get more relaxed in the morning. So at first, I was struggling getting out of bed because usually I wake up about 6 a.m., go for a run before 7. And I found I was struggling. And I realized I'm up till about 12:31 a.m. So what did I start doing recently? After beating myself a little bit, I swapped my routine around. I started going for a run 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night.
Okay.
Just before midnight. So I run and I come back, I'm tired, and I go sleep.
Go to sleep. And has it now become a habit for you?
And it's now becoming a habit.
Yeah.
My new habit is now I sleep, I get out of bed, like I wake up at 7, instantly as I wake up, reach for my phone and start listening to something, something empowering.
Yeah.
And that will build me into about 8 o'clock. And then from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, I would then educate myself, learn something. All right?
Yeah,
and then organize my day. Then I start my meetings about 10. So it's a roller coaster, but you have to continually understand roller coaster is part of it.
Yeah.
Or in a positive way. But for me, I think, anyone who is basically like, oh, I want to start a business, I teach a lot of people in my property circle. First of all, is put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Once you start putting yourself out there, like I said, when I started, I didn't have a message. I didn't understand what I was doing. I would take my mentor's content and populate it. I'll share my mentor's message. I'll take pictures with him all the time. And that was the wheel.
Yes.
So a lot of people would not even do that. Some people be like, I don't like posting my mentor stuff on my... And I've also heard you say about mentor.
Yeah.
What is this about successful people, about mentors?
You just, it's learning, isn't it? You're in front of, or you have access to people who's either done it before, or they may know other people. So like even with my mentor, he's actually based in Dubai. He works for MasterCard. Yesterday, he sent me an email and he said, Michelle, although I can't help you out here in terms of your event, let me introduce you to my counterpart in
Name
Europe.
in the room.
And I'm just like, well, this is great,
And that's
isn't it?
name in the room.
To get MasterCard involved.
And that's compounding effect from your what?
Exactly, my visibility. He said to me, when I said to him, I would love you to be my mentor, he said to me, Michelle, I checked you out before we had this phone call. And he goes, you're all over my LinkedIn. Probably I can learn from you. So look at that. It's the visibility. It's the visibility and the credibility. So although he's mentoring me, he's learning from me as well.
Yeah.
So is that reverse mentoring? So I think anybody who wants to, just succeed, they definitely need a mentor. It goes without saying.
Wow. What an interesting episode. We have literally gone around the whole block.
We have.
And literally, like, I love the fact that we didn't hold back. And I'm just so super humbled to have you here. As I did mention, you are one of those who has inspired me to building visibility, a brand, and so on and so forth. I'm just so humbled that we've shared the last 4 years together.
Yes.
And our relationship has blossomed so much in the last.
And it will only blossom some more.
It's about to blow up. So Michelle, thank you so much for being on the Wealth and Business podcast. So for those of you who want to know about Michelle, her links to a LinkedIn profile will be on the show notes. And we are planning something amazing together. So I'm somebody who has been able to build a strong social media presence and brand, and Mitch has done the same. We're coming together to do something amazing so we can help professionals, we can help business owners, entrepreneurs, aspiring, professionals, or whatever you want to do. Whether you are at the beginning stage of how do you do this, we're going to be doing a masterclass together, to kind of bring this to your daughter so you can know exactly how to implement this into your life. As a professional, as a business owner. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.